Welcome, eternal transfer. Chosen one. Heaven scheduled this exact moment, aligning time, breath, and attention so your spirit could hear what your mind has been waiting for. This is not random content. This is a divine encounter, a holy interruption in your timeline because something in the unseen has shifted in your favor. Chosen one, you are standing on the edge of a supernatural financial breakthrough, a divine transfer that has been forming long before you understood it. What felt like delay was actually protection. What seemed like silence was refinement. And now the appointed moment has arrived, as it is written in Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 3. The vision was prepared for an appointed time, and though it lingered, it would not delay. That time is now. Chosen one. Heaven is rubbing your name across the scroll of increase. The same God who multiplied oil for the widow and provided manna in the wilderness is releasing provision into your life with precision, not based on your effort, but based on your obedience. Feel the shift. The heaviness is lifting. The stagnation is breaking. Your season of waiting is converting into a season of manifestation. Chosen one. Breathe. Let your spirit align, because what is about to unfold is not ordinary. It is your Kairos hour, chosen ones. Hear this with a spirit that is awake and a heart that is open. What you feel right now is not emotion. It is alignment. The same way a compass trembles before it locks onto true north. Your spirit is responding to a divine recalibration. Heaven is not observing your life from a distance anymore. It is intervening. And chosen one. When heaven intervenes, it never does so halfway. There are moments when life feels quiet, not peaceful, but strangely still. No doors slamming, no doors opening, just silence. Many people mistake that silence for delay, but I've learned, and I want you to hear this from someone who has walked it. That silence is often the hallway before the throne room. It is the pause God creates when He is shifting the furniture of your destiny. I remember a season when nothing made sense. No sudden miracles, no dramatic signs, just the weight of waiting. But in that waiting, I realized something. Heaven was not ignoring me. It was preparing me. Chosen ones. You didn't endure what you endured because you were being tested for survival. You were being trained for stewardship. There is a difference. Survival builds instinct, stewardship builds authority, and right now heaven is transitioning you from one into the other. The weight you felt, the pressure, the stretching, the hidden battles, they weren't meant to break you. They were building capacity. Because what is about to be released into your life carries weight, not just financially, but spiritually, emotionally, generationally. You're not just stepping into an increase of resources. You are stepping into an increase of responsibility. That is why this season had to be quiet. That is why certain people had to leave. That is why some dreams seemed to die. Not because they were taken from you, but because God was pruning what could not survive the level you're being called into. Chosen ones. Heaven is intervening in your finances. Yes, but not just to relieve your stress. Heaven is intervening because what is connected to your life cannot remain underfunded anymore. Your calling cannot be sustained on lack. Your impact cannot function under constant strain. There comes a point when divine purpose demands divine provision, and you have reached that point, as it was seen in the lives of those who walked before you, those who walked through dry ground while waters stood on both sides. Provision doesn't always come before movement. Often, it manifests in response to obedience. That is what many fail to understand. They want the sign before the step, but chosen one. Heaven moves when you move. Provision often follows positioning. And I know exactly what you're thinking. What if I step and nothing changes? But that question itself is proof of your humanity, not your unfaithfulness. I asked that same question. I stood in moments where obedience felt reckless and silence felt loud. But every time I moved in faith, even trembling, heaven met me in motion. Chosen ones, you are not waiting on money. Money is waiting on alignment. You are not waiting on opportunity. Opportunity is lining up with your obedience. And this is why you've been feeling this internal tension lately. Not anxiety, not confusion, tension. The kind of pressure you feel right before a breakthrough, like the atmosphere before a storm of blessing breaks. Because what God is doing is not small, it's not symbolic, it's structural. He is shifting the architecture of your life, realigning your foundations, redirecting your supply lines, your relationships, your access, your influence. That's why some old connections feel distant. That's why some environments feel too small. You are outgrowing spaces that were never designed to hold what heaven is about to pour. And chosen ones, let me speak to something personal. There was a season where my only resource was faith. No backup, no safety net, just faith and a whisper that said, keep going. And I kept going, not because I was fearless, but because I understood something. Obedience is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move anyway. And when I moved, provision didn't fall from the sky. It unfolded step by step, call by call, door by door, connection by connection. That's what is happening to you now. Heaven is not dropping it all at once. Heaven is activating a flow, a stream that will not dry up, a pattern of favor that will not run out. But you must understand this. Chosen ones, the shift begins internally before it becomes visible externally. You will notice your thinking change before your bank account does. You will feel peace settle before the opportunity arrives. You will carry confidence before you see confirmation. That's alignment. And alignment always precedes acceleration. So don't rush the feeling. Sit in it, honor it, let it reshape you. Because this isn't just about what you are receiving, it's about who you are becoming. And what you are becoming is dangerous to limitation, dangerous to cycles, dangerous to every ceiling that once boxed you in. Chosen ones, heaven is intervening, and what comes next will confirm everything you feel now. Stay with me. Chosen ones. What I am about to say is not motivational language. It is a spiritual reality. Once heaven begins to align a life, it does not stop halfway. It doesn't tease, it completes. And right now, you are standing in the middle of a divine alignment that cannot reverse itself. But here is something most people don't understand. Alignment doesn't always look like progress at first. Sometimes it looks like loss, sometimes it looks like confusion, sometimes it feels like isolation. And that's because when God starts to move you into a new dimension, He must first disconnect you from the frequency of your old one. That's why things haven't felt the same lately. Conversations feel empty. Old goals feel small. Certain people don't resonate the same way. That's not pride, that's not distance. That's spiritual transition. You are shifting frequencies, and everything that can't travel with you must naturally fall away. I want to speak from experience here. There was a time when everything familiar around me started to dissolve. Not violently, quietly. I looked around and realized I was standing in a new season without a map. Friends I once leaned on were no longer present. Comfort zones I relied on no longer existed, and I felt exposed. But what I didn't realize was this exposure is not abandonment. It's preparation for expansion. God does not isolate you to harm you. He isolates you to refine you. Because before He gives you influence, He must first strengthen your independence from human validation. Before He gives you provision, He must break your dependency on fear. Before He gives you visibility, He must establish your identity. Chosen ones. The isolation you felt wasn't rejection, it was recruitment. Heaven was separating you from distractions so your spirit could tune itself to divine frequency, because the level you are stepping into does not respond to chaos. It responds to clarity. And clarity is only developed in quiet. Now let's talk about this supernatural transfer you have been sensing, because I need you to understand this is not just emotional encouragement. There is a real pattern behind what's happening. In every major moment of divine shift, there is a spiritual exchange. Something leaves, and something greater arrives. Not because God enjoys taking, but because you cannot hold the new while clinging to the old. That's why certain relationships ended. That's why certain plans collapsed. That's why certain doors slammed. Not because God shut them for punishment, but because those structures could not survive the weight of what was coming next. And chosen ones. What is coming is not light, it's heavy. Heavy with responsibility, heavy with influence, heavy with impact. That's why you were trained under pressure. God doesn't give heavy things to fragile vessels. He gives heavy things to those who have proven they can carry them without losing themselves. And you prove that in silence. You prove that in endurance. You prove that in seasons where no one clapped for you. Right now, heaven is not watching how loud you celebrate. Heaven is honoring how long you endured. That's why this transfer is happening. Because divine resources follow divine resilience. And let me say this clearly. This transfer is not just material. Yes, finances will shift. Opportunities will open. Resources will flow. But something even deeper is being transferred first. Authority. You are stepping into a level of spiritual authority where you will start noticing that your presence shifts rooms. Your words carry weight. Your decisions ripple beyond yourself. This isn't about ego. This is about assignment. And that's why the enemy fought you so hard emotionally. Not because he feared your talent, but because he feared your awakening. Because once a chosen one realizes who they truly are, limitation collapses, cycles break, patterns die, old ceilings crack, and the world around them begins to adjust. That's what's happening now. And don't be surprised if, in the middle of all this, you feel both excitement and grief. Excitement for where you're going, grief for what you're leaving. Both are valid, because transformation always involves mourning what was, even when you're stepping into what will be. But hear me closely. You are not losing anything that belongs to you. You are shedding what cannot survive your next dimension. And what is approaching your life now does not replace what you lost. It surpasses it. Stay here with me, because the next part reveals how heaven is turning what once broke you into what will now build you. Chosen ones. There is something sacred about this stage you are in right now. It's the space between what broke you and what is about to build you. Most people think the breaking was the end. They thought the door that closed meant rejection. They thought the loss meant delay. They thought the silence meant abandonment. But you know better now, because you're still here. And the fact that you are still standing after everything you walked through is proof that the breaking was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to reshape your capacity. God doesn't break vessels to ruin them. He breaks them to remove weak areas that cannot handle the weight of glory. Because what's coming into your hands now isn't light. It requires structure. It requires spiritual backbone. It requires maturity. And that's why the pressure came first. You didn't go through the storm because you were unlucky. You went through it because you were being reinforced. There are people who received blessings too early and collapsed under them. There are people who entered open doors before their character was ready and were destroyed by what they prayed for. But you were held back, not because you were unworthy, but because you were being protected from receiving too soon. That's divine mercy. Now listen carefully. Chosen ones, there is a pattern in Scripture, and it still applies now. Before elevation, there is separation. Before promotion, there is purification. Joseph was isolated before he ruled. David was hunted before he was crowned. Even Jesus went into the wilderness before stepping into public power. The wilderness is not where you are forgotten. It's where you are forged. And you've lived in that place. You've been in that season where no one clapped, no one saw the tears behind the strength, no one understood the cost of your obedience, but heaven saw it all. Every night you stayed faithful when it was hard, every time you resisted giving up, every moment you chose peace over bitterness. Those weren't small decisions. Those were investments in your future authority. And now they are coming due, chosen ones. What's about to happen next will not look like gradual improvement. It will feel like acceleration. Things that were stuck for months will move in days. Doors that refused you will now invite you. People who overlooked you will suddenly recognize you. Not because you changed who you are, but because the timing changed. Heaven doesn't move on human clocks. It moves on divine readiness, and you've reached yours. But I need to prepare you for this. Acceleration can feel disorienting if you're not spiritually grounded. When things start moving fast, you might question if it's real. You might feel like you're dreaming. You might ask yourself, is this really happening or am I about to wake up? That's normal, because when God shifts seasons, He doesn't do it gradually. He does it suddenly, and suddenly doesn't give you time to mentally adapt. That's why your anchor now cannot be logic. It must be trust, because logic will try to explain what faith is meant to receive. Now let me be personal with you. There was a moment in my life where after years of struggle, things started opening. Unexpected calls, new doors, new opportunities. And instead of joy, my first reaction was hesitation. Not because I didn't want it, but because I wasn't used to things working in my favor. Suffering had become familiar. Delay had become normal. Struggle had become comfortable. But favor felt foreign, and I almost rejected it out of unfamiliarity. Chosen ones. Don't make that mistake. Just because struggle feels normal doesn't mean blessing is suspicious. Sometimes we're more familiar with pain than peace, more comfortable with lack than increase, more adjusted to delay than acceleration. But that doesn't mean those things are our destiny. You were not born for survival. You were born for stewardship. You were not created to live beneath open heavens. You were created to walk under them. And now heaven is opening not just for you, but through you. You are not just stepping into blessing. You are becoming a channel of it. That is why this moment carries weight, not just for your life, but for everyone connected to your obedience. Your family feels it. Your children will benefit from it. Your bloodline will shift because of it. This is not just breakthrough. This is inheritance activation. And unlike past seasons where everything drained you, this season will multiply you, because what comes next will not come to consume you. It will come to build through you. So stay with me, chosen ones, because in the next part, I need to show you why your obedience in this moment is the key to what gets released next. Chosen ones. Let me speak plainly now, because this is where many miss it. They believe in the prophecy, they feel the shift, they sense the season changing, but they hesitate at the step, not because they don't believe God, but because they fear movement more than delay. Delay is familiar. It doesn't demand risk. It doesn't require change. But obedience always does. And this next part of your journey isn't about feelings. It's about alignment. There is a difference between believing in God's promise and stepping into it. Many believe, few move. When God spoke to Abraham, He didn't say, "Understand first, then go." He said, "Go, and I will show you." Movement came before clarity. And that's where some of you are right now. You're waiting for full understanding, a completed plan, a visible path, but heaven is waiting for your yes before revealing the details. Not because God is hiding, but because this walk requires faith, not control. Chosen ones. Obedience is not only about doing, it's about releasing. Releasing fear, releasing your grip on how things should happen, releasing your need to understand everything ahead of time. Some of you are still holding on to old security because it feels safer than stepping into new uncertainty. But what you're calling safety is actually stagnation. And what you're calling uncertainty is actually preparation. Because where you're going cannot be sustained by the old structures you leaned on. God is not just changing your situation, He's changing your foundation. If He carried old frameworks into new seasons, the weight of the blessing would collapse them. So He's teaching you to trust differently, rest differently, hear differently, move differently. And I need you to understand this clearly. Obedience doesn't always look big on the outside, but it's always massive in the spirit. Sometimes obedience looks like saying no where you used to say yes, walking away from what drained you, starting even when confidence feels low, giving even when numbers don't make sense, forgiving when it hurts to do so. Small acts in the natural, but earthquakes in the unseen. This is why not everyone receives what is released in a season, not because God plays favorites, but because not everyone moves when God speaks. Now here's something important. The obedience God is asking of you right now may not be what others understand. It might seem unnecessary, illogical, even risky, but obedience is rarely logical before the miracle. It becomes logical after. That's why people will praise you later for what they questioned you for earlier. Because nobody claps for obedience until it produces results. But heaven doesn't operate on applause, it responds to alignment. Chosen ones. The word says faith without works is dead because belief without movement holds no weight in the spirit. You can love a key, believe in a key, carry a key in your hand, but until you turn it in the lock, the door doesn't open. And some of you are standing right there now, key in hand, door in front, promise ready, but you're waiting for fear to disappear first. Let me tell you something real. Fear doesn't disappear before obedience. It bows after it. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's obedience while fear is still present. And heaven honors that. Not perfection, not complete confidence, but movement despite trembling. Because when you move in weakness, God supplies the strength. When you step in doubt, God meets you with confirmation. That's a pattern throughout Scripture. The sea did not part until they stepped toward it. The walls didn't fall until they marched around them. The miracle didn't move until the obedience did. And your situation is no different. Chosen ones. This is where the transfer becomes real. Not in emotion, not in words, but in motion. Heaven doesn't release based on excitement. It releases based on agreement. And agreement is proven through action, not intention. But listen, this is not about rushing. It's about responding. There's a difference. Rushing comes from fear. Responding comes from discernment. Heaven is not pressuring you into chaos. It's inviting you into alignment. And when you align, everything else starts aligning around you. People, opportunities, timing, connections. The obedience you give now becomes the trigger for the acceleration coming next. And in the next part, I will show you why your obedience doesn't only unlock your blessing, it releases activation over your environment too. Chosen ones, listen carefully, because what you are stepping into is larger than you expected. Your obedience is not traveling alone. When you move, things move. When you align, the atmosphere aligns. This season is not just shifting your life, it is shifting your territory. Many of you believe the battle was only about your personal breakthrough. But it was never just about you. Your delay affected more than your schedule. Your breakthrough affects more than your bank account. Because when God elevates a chosen one, He changes the climate around them. I know this personally. There were times I thought my obedience meant nothing because I couldn't see results. But when doors finally opened, it didn't only change my life, it started changing the people connected to me. The rooms felt different and conversations changed. Opportunities appeared where there was silence before. Not because I became important, but because alignment creates influence. And chosen ones, that influence is now resting on you. You are becoming a carrier of atmosphere. Some of you have already sensed this. When you enter a space, the energy shifts. When you speak, people lean in, not because of volume, but because of authority. And authority doesn't announce itself, it is felt. That's why some people are suddenly uncomfortable around you. Not because you changed in personality, but because you shifted in frequency. Light always makes shadows restless. But don't take that personally. Your assignment was never to be understood by everyone. It was to be fulfilled. God doesn't only bless chosen ones for comfort, He blesses them for impact. You are becoming an access point for healing, for opportunity, for restoration. This is why your life has felt so contested, because access points are always guarded. But now, heaven is clearing the gate. And here is where the repositioning begins. Some of you feel it already, a pull toward new environments, a discomfort in old places, a restlessness you cannot explain. That is not confusion. That is transition. God is not breaking you. He is relocating you. Old spaces were designed for old versions of you, but you have outgrown them. Certain environments cannot sustain who you are becoming. That's why doors are closing, not to trap you, but to redirect you. Because where you're going requires a different atmosphere. And that's why not everyone can come with you. Not because you're above them, but because they're assigned to a different chapter. And yes, that may hurt. But pruning always feels like loss before it becomes growth. Every relationship that ended created room. Every door that shut made space. Every season that died cleared land for new ground. God is not just moving you forward. He is making sure you can survive where He's taking you. This isn't just transition, it's preparation for staying. Because arrival without transformation leads to collapse. So He's adjusting your mindset. He's refining your reactions. He's rebuilding your spirit. Because abundance requires a new internal structure. You're not just moving from lack to supply. You're moving from survival to stewardship. And stewardship requires clarity, discipline, surrender, not weak surrender, but surrendered strength. Because the blessing being transferred is not just for consumption. It's for circulation, not just to fill you, but to flow through you. And in the next segment, I will speak about how to carry that overflow without losing yourself when the floodgates open. Because the blessing coming needs a vessel that knows how to hold power without becoming proud. Chosen ones, before the flood comes, you must understand something sacred. Overflow without wisdom becomes destruction. Abundance without grounding becomes intoxication. And heaven is not releasing anything into hands that cannot carry it. That's why the process felt so long. Not because God was slow, but because He was building your capacity. I've watched people receive what they prayed for, only to lose themselves inside the blessing. Their identity became their success. Their spirit became scattered by opportunity. Their gratitude faded into entitlement. But that will not be your story, because chosen ones are not only blessed, they are entrusted. And trust requires formation. This is why God allowed you to walk through seasons where nothing made sense. He wasn't just testing your patience. He was engraving maturity into your soul. He was teaching you to remain steady when surrounded by uncertainty, and now when surrounded by prosperity. That same steadiness will protect you, because real power is not in receiving. It is in remaining centered when you have. The blessing coming is not fragile, but unguarded hearts are empty. And that's why the final stretch before manifestation always feels intense. Not because the storm is stronger, but because the weight is heavier. You're not just approaching a breakthrough, you're approaching responsibility. God is not just giving you provision, He is giving you position. And position requires character. What you're stepping into will attract attention. People will seek you, voices will surround you, opportunities will multiply. And if you don't remain rooted, you could drift. So heaven is establishing your foundation now. That's why you're being taught silence, why solitude found you in certain seasons, why friendships fell away, why distractions died, because God was giving you quiet so he could speak clearly, and clarity is protection. Now listen closely. Chosen ones. The next wave is not just financial, it's strategic. God is not dropping money, he's releasing systems, connections, structures, and access. This is about legacy. The wealth transfer you heard me speak about is not a handout. It's a repositioning into influence. Some of you will build businesses, some will lead communities, some will step into decision-making rooms, some will carry resources that fund visions beyond your own. But none of you are being lifted just to be seen. You're being lifted to steward, because what you carry will impact more than your lifetime. And this is why God kept you hidden. Not because you weren't ready for success, but because success wasn't yet ready for you. You had to be refined first, because public elevation without private anchoring creates collapse. You've seen it happen to others, people who rose fast and fell faster, people who were celebrated but internally hollow. That won't be you, because you were built deep before being built high, and depth protects height. You can only carry what your roots can sustain, and your roots have gone deep, through rejection, through confusion, through unanswered prayers, through hidden obedience. Each of those moments deepened you. Now when the winds change, you won't be uprooted. You'll stand, you'll remain, you'll lead. And here's what heaven wants you to hear now. When things start moving, don't rush. When doors open, don't lose focus. When attention comes, don't chase it. Stay aligned. Because blessings multiply quickest in stillness. And the enemy's final tactic before breakthrough is distraction. He will try to pull your attention sideways just before God moves you forward. He'll bring old voices, old habits, old temptations, not because they have power, but because they have familiarity. And familiarity can feel like safety, but safety in old seasons becomes stagnation in new ones. So don't look back, not when provision starts manifesting, not when miracles begin stacking, not when things finally feel better, because better is not your destination, greater is. And this next step is not about comfort, it's about completion. In the next part, I will walk you through how to stay aligned when acceleration begins, how to hold peace when speed increases, and how to move without fear when heaven starts moving fast around you. Chosen ones, receive this with a still heart and an awakened spirit. This is not just a closing, it is a sealing of your kairos. Heaven has aligned the moment, and the supernatural transfer is already moving. The delay is lifting, the resistance is breaking, the silence is ending, as declared in Isaiah chapter 60, verse 22. The least shall become 1,000 and the smallest of a mighty nation. That acceleration is now over you. What was postponed will arrive. What was lost will return with increase. Chosen ones, I bless you. May your spirit remain open. May your faith stay steady. May your obedience unlock what was sealed. Do not retreat into fear. Do not overthink what heaven confirmed. Stay aligned. Stay grateful. Stay surrendered. If your spirit agrees, whisper, I receive. And if this word touched you, leave that declaration below so others may align with you in faith. The door is open, and you were chosen to walk through it.